Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Vlogmas Day 14. Today I have a Books Beside My Bed video for you. For those who are unfamiliar with the series, it is a weekly series where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. And for anyone who is very familiar with this series by now, welcome back. This is my reading week from the 6th until the 12th of December. I read a total of 8 books this week, 1,743 pages, and my yearly reading total is up to 385 books. Now, I originally thought that last year I had read 385 books and that was the total that I had to beat this year. As it turns out, it was 381 books in 2019, so I've surpassed 2019's reading record. So this year is going to be great. Every year it just gets more and more because I can't help myself. I'm very competitive with myself. I don't know why. But suffice to say, I'm really happy with that I'm still reading. The books that I count in my total are books that I read for pleasure or I read for review. So there are children's books in there that count for that total, including 3 for this week. But I don't mind because that's reading. We're going to start talking about all of these books straight away. I'm going to start with the 3 picture books, which are review copies, and all of them were sent to me by Scholastic. The first 2 are part of a DC children's series. So the first one is Time for Bed Batman, and the second one is Be Brave Wonder Woman. They are gorgeous picture books. These are all 2020 releases from Scholastic. They've been written by Michael Dahl, and the pictures for the Batman book are by Ethan Beavers, and for the Wonder Woman book by Omar Lozano. They are books for kids who are either learning new bedtime routines or who are starting school, and they feature a superhero story interspersed with an everyday child doing bedtime or starting school routines. I thought they were really cute and I gave them both 4 out of 5 stars. The third picture book was Disney Maps, a magical atlas of the movies we know and love. And I really wanted a review copy of this because I thought it sounded like such a great idea. It is a 2020 release from Scholastic. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. It has gorgeous blue metallic sprayed edges, and the way that this book is set up is you have a timeline of all of the Disney films. So this one goes up to 2017 and Coco. So obviously they're probably thinking that maybe in the future they'll do a second one. And you start off with a beautifully illustrated map of the land that the movie takes place in, and then you get a 2-page spread that outlines what the story was about, important moments that you can remember, and then all of the main characters. I adored this. I thought it was so fun. It was so nice to just take a trip down memory lane and visit some of these places. I love all things Disney movies. I always have ever since I was a kid. I mean, look, there's Alice in Wonderland, and they're just such pretty illustrations. So I highly recommend this. This would make a really great gift for a Disney fan. So then moving into my adult books for the week, I did read Abel by Katie Robert. This is book 1 in the Sabine Valley series, which is her new series. It will be a 2021 release. I think it comes out in January. I got an early copy as part of Katie's Patreon, and I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. It is a spin-off series from The Wicked Villains in that Sabine Valley is mentioned quite a bit through later books in the Wicked Villains series, but we haven't had any characters crossover yet. I believe all of the books in this series will be menage stories. Abel is an MMF menage featuring Abel, Eli, and Harlow. And essentially it is a 7 Brides for 7 Husbands retelling, I believe. Abel and his brothers were exiled from Sabine Valley years earlier, and now they have come back and they are able to participate in ritual combat and set their prize should they win. And Abel is the person who does the fighting, and for every time that he wins a fight, he is able to claim a bride for one of his brothers. And this is obviously like a revenge plot. It's got a very mob style feel to the world. And Abel and Eli do have a history. They were best friends before Abel was exiled. It becomes quite tricky when Abel requests Harlow, who is Eli's girlfriend, as his bride, and ends up with Eli in the bargain as well. It's a very complicated plot, but you know what? It was really entertaining and fun, and I enjoyed it. I know what to expect from Katie's writing now, so it makes it a really easy read. Then I read Black Spire, which is part of the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge series. This book takes place between movies 8 and 9. It was written by Delilah S. Dawson. It is a 2019 release. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I listened to the audio as I read this. It was narrated by January Lavoie, who did the audio for Liberabraze the Diviners series, which I absolutely loved the audios for those. In this story, we follow Vi, who is a resistance spy who had recently been captured and tortured by the First Order, but she managed to turn her captor and then rescued him when he was nearly killed in a battle. And then Leia gives Vi the mission of setting up a resistance outpost at Black Spire, which is a out-of-the-way little colony on the galaxy's edge that has no significant value to either the Resistance or to the First Order as a place where the Resistance could hide out if need be. And of course, nothing is as simple as that, and Vi finds herself getting caught up in on-planet politics, and the whole thing was actually really entertaining. It's one of the few of the more recent Star Wars books that I've really enjoyed. I loved the narration style. Star Wars audiobooks are great because they do have sound effects in them as well, so it makes them sort of like mini movies. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Then I read My Fake Rake by Abel, which is a historical romance book. This is a 2020 release. I think upon reflection, I'm giving it about a 4 out of 5 stars. It is a sort of Breakfast Club inspired historical romance novel. I mean, I haven't seen The Breakfast Club, so I can't verify that, but it seems like the male character leads in all of these books were all members of a detention that occurred during their days at Eton. In this story, you follow Lady Grace, who is a naturalist, and she is head over heels in love with a fellow naturalist who doesn't seem to see her as a woman, just as a colleague. To that end, she enlists the help of her friend Sebastian, who is an anthropologist. She decides to turn him into a rake, have him fake date her in order to catch the attention of the guy that she's in love with. What could possibly go wrong with that? There are a lot of things to love about this. There was some really funny one-liners, some really great quotes. I did really like both Grace and Sebastian. Sebastian does do some questionable things later on, but I truly believe that the entire thing is hinged on the fact that these two don't actually communicate their attraction to one another, and also that Sebastian is so completely insecure that he actually doesn't know how to communicate his feelings in any true way. So there are things about it that, you know, may be quite problematic, but there are also things that I really loved about the book, but I was glad that I read it, and I'm going to continue the series. I also read Yona of the Dawn Volume 1 by, I'm going to say this really badly, Mizuho Kusanagi, and this was a manga that was recommended by both Shay and I think Izzy, and I saw it when I went book shopping and I decided to buy it and give it a shot. I actually have the next 2 volumes to read as well. This was a 2010 release. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and it follows Yona, who is a princess, and on her, I think it's her 16th birthday, her father is killed by the boy that she loves in retribution for his father's death. And so she has to go on the run with Hack, who is her personal bodyguard, but also a childhood friend. This volume really felt like a lot of setup. So you get everything that happens pretty quickly in the story, and then they go on the run and they have to begin to start figuring out what they're going to do. So I'm looking forward to reading volume 2 to see where the story goes, and then we'll see whether I continue with the series. And then finally, I read The Care and Feeding of Waspish Widows, which is the first time I managed to say that book in one take. And this book is by Olivia Waite. It is a 2020 release. I'm torn, but it's somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. I don't do 0.75 ratings. I really enjoyed the story and I really liked it, but I think I found it to be a bit meandering in places, and there was a lot happening and I found it really hard to sort of keep track of that, plus the romantic subplot. This is a sapphic historical romance story between Agatha Griffin, who runs a printing press, and Penelope Flood, who is a married woman who's married for convenience, and we find out why, but her husband spends years away from her, and so she's left to run her house, and she's a beekeeper, and so she looks after all of the town's beehives, and then their paths cross. It is their very slow burn courtship between these two women. And if you're worried about an aspect of cheating, there is an explanation about why this relationship happens, and it didn't set off any issues for me in that regard, and I don't like books about cheating. The thing that I loved most about this book was all the talk about beekeeping and looking after the hives, and so much so that I actually went out and bought honey today because I'd spent so much time reading about it. So it was an enjoyable read. It's a very slow read. There's a lot of political stuff that happens in the background with side characters as well. So it was fascinating, but probably a little bit slower than I needed this week. So now we come to my shout out. My shout out for the week is Julie H. Julie has been a long time follower of my channel, but she also has her own channel and I really love watching her videos. She talks a lot about sci-fi fantasy books and I love watching her wrap ups. She's really great. I will leave her channel link down below, so definitely check out her channel. That's everything that I read this week. I had a pretty good reading week, but if you would like to talk to me about the books or let me know what you have been reading, feel free to leave that in the comments down below. I'd love to chat to you. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.